you're constantly on the verge of burnout, even if you've tried resting or setting boundaries, even changing jobs, this video is going to explain why. Because for a lot of high achievers, chronic burnout is not actually a time problem or a workload problem. It is, in fact, a belief problem. And I'm going to show you how that actually works. Hi, I'm Chris. I'm a career and mindset coach. And for the last 9 years, I've worked with driven, capable people who look successful on the outside, but feel pressured, stuck, and disconnected on the inside. And in this series, we've been talking about something bigger than burnout alone. We've been talking about the recurring patterns that show up when internal pressure is running the show in your life. So this is all the classic overachiever issues, the perfectionism, the people pleasing, the overthinking, the chronic burnout. And in the last video, I talked about why awareness alone doesn't actually change behavior, why seeing a problem is not the same thing as being able to stop it. And in that video, I also mentioned that there's an engine beneath all of these behaviors, and that is the pressure itself. This system is the thing that keeps pulling you back into the unhealthy patterns, even if you know better. So this video is a closer look at that engine, not necessarily to fix it yet, but to just start to understand it. We're going to be zooming into this belief system running the show, and I'm going to be using overextending and burnout as a core example here, since it's unfortunately such a universal experience. But the concept we're talking about, the idea that beliefs are part of the system that drives our behavior, that can be applied to all of our pressure-driven patterns that we've been unpacking. Again, perfectionism, people-pleasing, overthinking, all of it. So let's get into it. And what I want to do today is start by talking about the system as a whole. Because when I'm talking about the system holding your behaviors and habits in place, I am not talking about something tangible. I am not talking about something day-to-day like your job or your workload or even your schedule. I am not even talking about your personality. When I talk about a system, I am talking about the internal set of rules that have been driving you. This is the ecosystem we talked about last week. And this ecosystem essentially operates like your internal SOPs. It is the inherent rules that guide you, often without you necessarily realizing it. And the system is comprised of things like your beliefs about what makes you or other people valuable, what your body associates with safety, and the internal pressure that you've learned to live with as a baseline normal, even if it's not necessarily normal. For a lot of the people I see, those rules can sound something like, my value comes from being impressive, my value comes from being productive, I am the capable one who has things figured out, I don't need help. Those are some of the internal things and the internal thoughts that are powering this system that is then reinforcing our behaviors. And typically when I talk about some of those beliefs that I just did, like that my value comes from being impressive, we might cognitively know that this is head trash. We might hear that and say like, no, I don't think that. But to be clear, these are not necessarily conscious choices or thoughts or things that you say to yourself on purpose. These are those deeper underlying beliefs that were seeded and then fostered over time and reinforced. So now they've really gotten a tight hold on you. Your particular set of beliefs, this internal system, is the architecture that keeps us repeating the habits. So I'm going to show you a metaphor to really explain it, because some of you might be a visual learner like myself. So this is Iceberg of behaviors, as I call it. And the thing you need to understand is this system of beliefs that we talked about hanging out down here is a thing that is beneath every single one of our behaviors. The thing we see above the surface level, above the waterline of this metaphorical iceberg, these are the symptoms, the things we can actually really grab, that we can process. But the behavior is what drives the symptom, and the belief is what drives the behavior. So, tangible example, when we are talking about the symptom of someone being burnt out, maybe the reason they are burnt out is because of the behavior of overextending. So maybe they always say yes to things when they want to say no to things. But why? Often the people I see are trying to change the behavior in hopes that it will solve the symptom, solve the pain point that they are seeing. But if they are not dealing with why they do said behavior, then things never change. So in that same burnout example, what are the beliefs and the value system that is driving that behavior? So maybe it's thinking the only way to be a good team player is to say yes to things. Or maybe it is thinking that you are tough and that means you should be able to handle more than everyone else. Any of those internal mental dialogues are going to drive this behavior. Because you think, I can't say no, then of course, the behavior is never going to change. Because if you start saying no, you will then be reinforced with that loop of like, well, that makes me a bad team player. So then you stop doing it. You see how that works? The mistake people make is trying to solve at a behavior level when they need to actually start with the underlying beliefs. Obviously, behaviors are not solely driven by beliefs. Burnout as an example, there are other factors in the world like workload, culture, environment. But if they try and change those logistics things and something's still not changing, well, then there's probably something going on here with these internal beliefs. And that is why I want you to understand this iceberg example. So now that you understand these beliefs and how they actually reinforce our habits, I want to pause really quick and call something out, which is that your beliefs are not there to make you miserable. We all have a set of beliefs. Some are positive, some are less positive, and we are not here to pass judgment on it. The unhealthy beliefs, they're not bad, so to speak. They are things that have served a purpose. They have helped you survive. They probably help you succeed in some way or feel like you belong or climb the ladder. And that is why all of these beliefs are so incredibly sticky because they have served a purpose. And so, yeah, it's really hard to shed those ones that have done their job but are no longer serving us. And that is what we want to hone in on. But I did just want to acknowledge that because if changing behavior does feel hard and you're like, okay, well, maybe beliefs are to blame. This is not a character flaw or something that you are doing wrong. It's just that we all have a set of beliefs and some of them we've outgrown. And that just means they might need a little bit of updating. Okay. So hopefully understanding this concept of beliefs beneath behaviors helps you to understand why change doesn't come from just trying harder or trying to make yourself think differently. Our habits and our patterns do not disappear the minute we become aware of them because, again, they're being reinforced by the system. So then our job becomes to slowly retrain the system underneath our behavior by looking at the internal pressures and the beliefs and all of those things that we think, because again, that is the foundation of everything else to come. This belief work is the core of what I teach inside of the Reset framework for that reason, because none of the other stuff can happen unless we have a solid foundation. So I hope that helps you to understand it better. If this video feels like it cleared a few things up, good. That is great. That is the point. I don't want you necessarily jumping into changing anything right now. I don't want you panicking and thinking about all of the beliefs you need to work on or what that means for your life or having that existential spiral. Right now, our work is simply to start by understanding the system, understanding that you are not broken. This is not a character flaw. And there is a reason why some of these behaviors and these habits have been so hard to break. You've just been operating in an old system that hasn't been updated yet. So if you want help learning to work with the system versus against it, that is what I am here for. I walk through the entire mindset and rewiring process within my free workshop, The Achievers Reset. It's a full orientation to the work, so I'll be sure to drop the link in the description for when you're ready. And next week, we're going to be getting more specific. So I'll walk you through a real example of how head trash or an unhealthy belief actually plays out day to day, so you can fully understand what that might look like and why it's so hard to let go of. So if this resonated, be sure to like and subscribe and come back for that. And I'll see you then. Bye.